What if the real power in Africa isn't held by its presidents, but instead by its kings? Would you ever approach a king or a chief for business reasons? When an African wants to start a business, they have to go through so many procedures and have to fill out so many forms, things which were imposed on the country, but they don't realize it at that moment. But these are things which were imposed on the country. Instead of going to the government, instead of asking for a president's permission or the government's permission, go to those systems which have still stayed in your country. Go to those original systems which belong to you. Back then, the economy was controlled by the regent, by the king, or by the chief of said region and the elders of said region. There is no reason as to why it still can't work that way today. If an African wants to build a factory, there is no reason why they need to spend millions in money to try and buy land to start a factory. When there are kings, when there are chiefs, when there are regents with enough land, with enough resources readily available for you to build what you want to build, without you having to pay for it, as long as you can make a great case to said chief or to said king as to how this benefits him and his community directly, then it should be easy. But we're so preoccupied with following Western style systems, we don't see how beautiful and how amazing our styles of systems or our indigenous systems actually are. To give you an example, let's talk about Dangote. Dangote is making cement, but what it's also making is fertilizer. Now, I know there is much land in Africa, enough to make sure that Africa never has to import any fertilizer. But what are the processes that he has to go through in order to start it in a new country? He has to go and find the land, he has to go and find ripe land, and then after finding ripe land, he has to see who owns the land, and then after seeing who owns the land, if it's not the government, if it's a private individual, now you have to buy out the land. Then after you've bought the land, then you have to start building the factory, and you still have to make deals with the local banks inside the country in order to make sure that everything is right. So how much do you really own at that point? And how much did you spend just trying to start the factory? Instead, you could go to a chief or to a king and lease the land. Make your case. State your case as to how is this going to help the community? How is this going to benefit the king directly? It should be very easy. Once that is done, you get the land, you build, and no strings attached to any bank. And there's no way that the government really can enforce anything bad on you because the chief is on your side. The chief has a vested interest in your investment in his property or in his land or her land. Any current system cannot stop us. The current systems in Africa cannot stop any African. There are other systems out there for you. It's just that you have forgotten about them. It is time for you to remember them. It is time for you to go and see the soil. It is time for you to go and see the village. It is time for you to go and see the elders who keep care of the community. It's time for you to see how we govern and see how that may benefit you and the community at large. The king of Swaziland, the king of Eswatini, Mr. Mswati, visited the Ashantahini in Ghana. We have an expectation normally that trade negotiations or anything that has to do with country to country business has to be done by the presidents of said country. But as we've seen today in June, the king of Eswatini went to go and visit Ghana, not only to visit President Mahama, but to also visit the Ashantahini. This is so significant because it breaks the idea that it is only the responsibility of those who are in government to connect the continent as it relates to trade, just on a trade-based level. It shows the importance, the cultural importance, the cultural significance, and the influence that our kings have, even after they've been really dethroned from their position and displaced from any actual power. You see still their significance as it comes to diplomacy. We're starting to remember now that our kings are diplomats. Our kings are not idiots, they're diplomats. They know business. They deal with large swaths of territory with large amounts of people. They're some of the perfect people that we need to integrate into the rising African economy. So, what can you do? Go and visit your village. Go and find the elders. Go and find the chiefs. Speak to them. It's that simple. Make connections with people of significance in their own communities. See what the land has to offer. In conclusion, do not seek approval from systems that were made to forget you. Join into systems which were made to remember you.